guest lecture to be given by Dr. Shivanna, and I'm happy to introduce him with us by data. Dr. Shivanna has 30 years of experience in research, extension, and teaching in the Department of Agricultural Entomology, College of Agriculture, University of Agriculture and Horticulture Sciences, Shivamogga. He is from Shivamogga, and he has obtained his BSc and PG degree from University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, and PhD from Harvard, from the University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore. And he has specialized in cotton insect pest, and he has started his career as assistant professor at UAS Bangalore, and also worked as junior entomologist in ICRIP on tobacco, and co-PI of Arikanet Research Center, Shivamogga, Karnataka. And he is presently working as professor, Department of Entomology, UAS, Shivamogga, Karnataka. And he has published more than 81 research papers and 40 research notes in international and national journals. And he has guided more than 12 MSc and 5 PhD students. And he has also specialized in integrated pest management and host plant resistance. And he has also transferred many of the technologies to the package of practices for the benefit of farmers. Thank you. And this is about the brief biodata of Dr. B.K. Shivanna. And I kindly request him to present his lecture on role of birds in agriculture. Thank you, sir.
My dear PG students and faculty members of this TNAO, today's my guest lecture is on role of birds in agriculture. As you are aware, the birds, which are the recreating and arthropod regulators everywhere, and by seeing the birds, we will enjoy more and more, and the services of birds which they render to the agriculture in different or multiple angles is much more than what they contribute or they render loss to the agriculture. So all of you are entomologists, concentrating the insects going to be managed with synthetic chemicals or botanical pesticides nowadays, and neglecting the role of birds. Just go through some of the birds, most of the birds which are familiar to you, and their names will come once again as and when their role is there. Nature, nearly 98% of the birds are arthropod regulators, whereas only 2% they are graminivorous. So with this, will you prefer to keep the birds, conserve the birds, or to kill the birds? As per Wildlife Act, we are not supposed to kill, but people are hunting. Your chicks are also kinds of birds. All birds, 98%, when they are insectivorous, if you leave them as it is, your synthetic chemical application is not needed. One such example where I have seen in Ikrisat, plots of groundnut being sprayed with insecticide and without insecticides. Without insecticides yielded much higher than the groundnut plot being sprayed with the insecticide. This is the one best example for you to conserve the birds. The returns, though very high from the birds, but it is not quantified. What they cause loss? A meager amount. This is estimated, and expanding like birds are harmful to the crops. The magnitude of damage caused by birds is significant and needs immediate attention. So here we can put some question mark. The bird activities results in damage of crops, feed crops, grains, seeds in stores, threshing yards, green vegetation, and horticulture crops. Apart from this, birds feeds on insects, arthropods, rodents, and others. So soil-borne insects, you are aware that root grubs, termites are being eaten away during fall flowing. And these birds are environmental litmus papers, which you are aware, they are quite beautiful compared to the other creatures, and they are the indicators of nature. Huh? 2004 tsunami, when post-mortem operation being taken, huh? None of the birds being affected. They are the forethinkers. And onset of monsoon is being known to us because of the quails. Huh? So most of the seasons you will come to know when the birds sings, then the season starts. In case of birds, the female bird is less beautiful as compared to the male, vice versa in higher animals. Some birds have aesthetic value and recreation purpose. So people are going for watching the birds in the early morning and also evening, and this will become a walking for the old age people and also getting friends. When you go with binocular near ponds or somewhere, tanks for watching the birds, everyone will observe you and will think you are the scientists, and they will talk to you and will become social friends to you. Huh? So this hobby, if you cultivate, and your life will be very peaceful, huh? And you will be happy every day, to go and observe the birds. Some birds are religious value, as Jatayu Pakshi, hmm, and Koyal. Some are having food value, chicks, pigeons, and they play a great role in ecological role. Ecological role means the food chain, smaller to large animals. They are predating not only on insects and rodents, snakes, and also even small birds themselves going to be predated. So in this way, they serve as balancing the nature also. So what sort of benefits we are getting from the birds? Any living creature will find both advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages are pollinators. Uh, an example best is the hummingbird. Most of you have seen this in discovery channels and in the reserved forests. They pollinate the flowers of big flowers with deep corolla where the nectar is situated. Yeah? So their wing blades are very well developed, strongly developed with muscles to hover over the flowers. And pollination is one of the important phenomenon for the diversity and is a guideline for the breeders, such that we are seeing the variety of kinds of things everywhere. Pollination, self-pollinated crops or self-pollinated fruits are less attractive, less price in the market as compared to the cross-pollinated crops. And the yield in cross-pollinated either by insects or birds is comparatively high and also colorful, get up shape, everything, shape, size, everything. Then seed dispersal. Here we can think both the things. One, dispersal of the seeds through their guts, from long distance, from Mauritius to India, India to Ceylon, etc. Where some pipal trees are being grown in Ceylon from Indian pipals. Even in UP, they are also dispersing seeds. At the same time, some disadvantages also there. So, like lantana, which was being put in the forest as a weed, now becoming difficult to control in some of the forest areas. Then arthropod regulators, as I shown, 98% birds control the 98% of the birds. They depend upon insects for their food. Whereas some are pure vegetarian, some are 98%, some are 100% uh, insectivorous birds. There are few birds like Sturnus rogeus, which is both predatory and graminivorous. And nutrient recycling, Ghana. So this is the excreta of the birds. All of you might have known about the silent spring in America, DDT, and its effect. Much explanation is not needed. The lady Carson, Rachel Carson, written that book. When once she went there, truck full of Ghana is going on the road as a manure to the field crops, and with full of birds' noise and enormous number of birds. After introduction of DDT, what has happened? When after 10, 20 years she went there, there was no bird at all, no thing. That's why she wrote that book, Silent Spring, Rachel Carson. And they are acting as a scavengers, road cleaners. And whenever there is an accident in the road or shikari, death of an animal in the forest, or when a crime by people being thrown deep into the forest areas, policemen or anybody cannot detect this one. So based on flying over of the birds, police will detect something has happened. Then they will go and identify the crime or any animal being dead. This way, they are helpful to the mankind. And disadvantages as one more thing I would add here, some will serve as the medicines like pigeons. Whenever there is a stroke, the people will advise to go for the pigeon's blood as a medicine for the people. So now coming to the disadvantages, where grain and fruit eaters, they damage the fruits partially, what they consume. 5% damaged fruits are more than 5%, nearly 10% fruits. They will not fetch any market price. Consumers prefer pure and best quality fruits without any damage. But bird selection is such a way that healthy, good quality, ripened fruits only they are going to select. Such fruits are very tasteful. So here afterwards, by hearing my lecture, you may think rather than buying the fresh fruits in the market, go for the damaged fruits of the birds, which will be more tasteful for you. And you are getting at cheaper rates than the fresh ones. Maybe 5% damage is negligible. This is like a CD value. So margin 5% you have to leave. Some of the birds like Passer domesticus, which will sit on the paddy plants. Mere by sitting on the paddy, because of weight, it will lodge. Sunflower parakeet sitting. So when weight is more, that is also going to be get down. So rather than their consumption damage is more by physical damage than consumption, then they deteriorate the quality of the seeds after consumption. Secondary infection will take place and dispersal of weed seeds, which I mentioned in advantage and disadvantages. So wherever advantage is there, disadvantage is also there. These are like the two faces of a coin. Some kinds of birds I mentioned here, this pollinators birds. So insect pollination, it is called as ornithophily, where this is called as the sunbird. You see that how the copious nectar being drawn from the deep corolla region. And one more bird, hummingbird, hovering over the plant, flowers. They know when the flowers will come in the forest areas in different localities, and based on that they will migrate from one place to another place reserved to the extreme hot extreme climate forests. Then thick-billed flower peckers, this is also a pollinator, and white-eared honey eater, all of you are aware about this honey eater. It's also going to pollinate, and leaf bird. So you can observe that the color of the birds is also matching to the nature and are named after their color only. Earlier, the non-professionals contributed more to the birds, scientific birds, naming in scientific naming of the birds than professionals because of their habitat than profession. This science of study of birds, it is called as ornithology. Ornithology is having some more sister concern branches: aerodynamics, aeronautics, physiology, sociology, and we can learn many things from the birds, right from socialness to living alone. Some live in flocks like giant families. Some others living alone, hmm, just like we people in the digital era. We don't want to live in giant families. Is it not? Hmm? All of you want privacy to live independently. If at all, if you are living together, I have wife and husband, that is called a giant family nowadays. Later onwards, it is not a giant family. Hmm? So this kind of family thinking over learning from the birds may bring you the social approach near and near, and that is more aesthetic value for you than any other earnings or eating recreation you do. Coming to the seed dispersal by birds, the term it is called as ornithochory. In toucan bird, most of you have seen rural people feeding on papaya and other things, and also in clean forest areas. Presence of hornbill like toucans is an indication of healthy forest. How do seeds travel from one area to other area? When bird comes in contact with the flowers, plants, fruits, anything. Apart from adhering the pollen grains, seeds also it will be swallowed along with the food, will be carried through excreta, regurgitation, and other things. So in their beaks, they will carry over dispersal during feeding, dispersal through droppings also. This bird is called as bulbul bird. Have you heard this bird? In the film also it is using the term. What does it means? Hey, tere mere bulbul. So it indicates the birds are being used, huh, to express the superiority, huh, or the beauty of the birds. Huh? In Karnataka, one film is there, Nagarao. Hmm? So in that film, they have used this word bulbul. And similarly, some bird names are also being used as symbols for trading purpose, like kingfisher, which is used as a symbol on which item? Beverages, huh? Liquors, kingfisher bird. Birds like bulbuls, mynas, crows, they not only eating the fruits and will carry the fruits in their body to the lung, and their excretes, huh, at some distances will serve for the seed dispersal. The outer fleshy part of these fruits get digested in food canal. Some more birds like thrushes, pigeons, barbets, toucans, hornbills, robins, blackbirds, they're all in the line of seed travel, all of which either excrete or regurgitate the hard embryo containing part undamaged. This bird is a robin bird. It is quite common in everywhere in India. Then coming to the insectivorous birds. This is the one called myna bird. This is called as Acridothrus tristis. All of you are aware about for the use of its biological control, where he is the only bird being first exported to the Mauritius country for the control of insects. A flock of birds in one area indicates that there are good number of insects, or a snake will be there. That is why you can think over that bird's role in regulating the arthropods, rodents, or insects. This is called hoopay bird. This is also an insectivorous birds. Then cattle egret, which travels on cattles at no cost from one place to another place, and is feeding on the ticks and other things. And also, when the animal is sleeping, it will pick the ticks from the body. And you can see different kinds of photographs of this cattle egret. This is called Babulcus ibis, where spatial distribution for collecting of insects and also on animals feeding. See how it is enjoying the food. So most of the grasshopper, moths, flies, and spiders, frogs, and earthworms all being eaten by this cattle egret. You see the beauty of this bird, cattle egret, and is quite common behind the tractors when you are plowing, or animals when they are grazing, even on meadows or parks. Is it not? Huh? This is one of our photograph of Babulcus ibis in our university. You see n number of birds following the tractor cultivation, where the pupa or grubs of root grubs or any fireworm, fall armyworm, or groundnut, red area caterpillars in Mailadurai, in Tamil Nadu, other things where it is a problematic pest is controlled by birds. This is a very beautiful Indian roller. Is also an insectivorous birds. So rather than go on telling the kinds of insects feeding by these birds, just concentrate on this one. All the birds are predators predating on different kinds of insects, rodents, and snakes. Puppe bird and woodpecker. Damaging to the timber also, not only feeding on insects. All of you are aware about this one as entomologist, bee eaters. Merops orientalis. So these are very common in apiary or on telephone lines, sitting in together. When the fly bee is on the air, will catch hold. This is called myna bird. So this is all feeding on grasshoppers and other insects, and this is called starlings. Starlings are very common. So when once it becomes a vegetarian for 6 months in India, and in another 6 months, it will migrate to the other countries for feeding on the insects. This is called Sturnus rosae starlings. Other birds, this all of you have seen in your villages, pipits. This is also wagtail, a beautiful bird, and this woodpecker spoiling the timber and also bringing and giving the food to its offsprings. You might have observed how the food going to be given to their chicks by birds, unimaginable, uncomparable to the human beings. They will drop deep into their mouths for their young ones. That love and affection care makes them to retain for longer period. But once maturity comes, for flying for the they never live together. Where we are living with together for long time with our kids. That too with so many hurdles. Even after sacrificing their life. This is called great tits. This is also common in India. Then coming to the owls. Everywhere on the houses. Good and bad signs of symptoms, indicators. But unfortunately, when it comes on your house or on the way, you will think it is a bad situations and circumstances. It is not like that. So it is unbelievable thing, unscientific way. So it is coming for its food or water collection. Meantime, if you are there, when it comes for, when you are going for some good things, you will feel that it is a bad and will return back and will go in the next day. You see the facial expression of this black drango, Dicrurus adseminalis. How fast moving, how keen they are observing the insects and catching the fly from a distance. All birds having some pectins in their eyes to see the vision to a distance more than 2 to 3 furlongs. They sit on trees and watch where the prey is there. When the prey comes like insect or anything, they will take darting flight and will catch over that food and sit on the perches or on electric lines and will enjoy the food. After that, it will comes once again, hunts that insect, take it to the height place on perches and will enjoy. Are we doing this? When there is a buffet system, we will crowd and eat like anything without counting, going at a fast rate. But you are not tasting at all food. Simply eating. They enjoy the food. So with limited quantity of food, you will enjoy. But with excess of food, you will not enjoy. But will come as yes. What is this? This kind of expression. But the food is not digested by you. Not at all tasteful to you. So you see the feeding habit of this bird, black drango. It's all feeding on all kinds of butterflies. Then one of the things where black drango is being employed by perching up trees branches to control the Helicorpo armigera on red gram. Old people, they are spreading some rice, puppet, and mandakinti puppets in the fields during full moon day or new moon day. The concept behind this is when you spread this one in your paddy fields or other things, birds get attracted. Meantime, when the insect comes, when it sees the insects, it leaves that pups and birds, pups or rice, and will catch hold of the insect. This way will be beneficial in controlling the insects. Scavengers. So majority of the bird scavengers which you find on roads, including crows and vultures, though they having some religious value for funeral or for parsis, vultures, after introduction of diclofenac medicine to the veterinary animals, kidney failure for these birds. Hence, they are vanishing in the sky nowadays. Diclofenac, a veterinary drug, when administered to the animals, that made it to vanish these vultures nowadays. Vultures are troublesome and also useful. So majority of the kites and vultures hit on the Europlane. At least 2 to 3 flights are being hit by these vulture birds every year across the globe, killing thousands of people. Often and often you are reading in the newspapers and mass medias. See some of the vulture birds feeding on carcass material, bald eagle, the beak shape to tear out the flesh from the animals. And also the legs of this bald eagle or vultures. You see the hawk, the carnivorous birds, legs, very strong and stout to tear or sit on the trees. This crow, where the modification is also being seen. This is both vegetarian and non-vegetarian bird. That is about something with respect to the birds. How can we attract the birds? There are ways and means to attract the birds by giving some mimicking calls or creating some structures favorable for their lodging and boarding, pruning of the trees, growing of some trees which flowers for evergreen, long time. Artificial attraction is also there. When birds are being attracted, more number of birds in the field, usually your pest problem will come down, including rodents and insects. A farmer has put this dried tree stump where birds will come and feed on insects feeding on this paddy grains. Then planting trees along the edges, which are flowering plants with copious nectar, or which provide shelter for constructing of the nests. That is also helpful to attract the birds. Water birds, native flora. That means you have to plant the species with the native flora, extended comfortable shelter and foraging grounds for water birds. This is a bluebird. So some structures, if you create this one, so the insects feeding on these plants serve as the food for this one. So mostly vegetables near your houses, terrace gardens, etc. Erection of some bird perches like this one, T-shaped, or growing up sorghum, bajra, anything. So helps to sit and feed on the insects. Then farmers are adapting some of the ITK technologies in Karnataka to attract the birds by growing some of the crops or broadcasting the puffed rice, curd rice, or chickpea fields, chickpea into the fields to attract the cattle egrets for the control of Helicoverpa armigera, which is a serious problem during Rabi seasons. Sowing of sorghum or bajra in pigeon pea to control the pod borers is also practiced in almost all the areas. You see the kind of purchase being given, that is wooden T-shaped purchase, so for monitoring of the birds. Then refugee areas where you leave some fallow lands, so serve as bird area for egg laying or other thing, and hedge plants provide important nesting, and large scale cutting of hedges should be avoided to maintain the avifauna for agriculture landscape. Crop rotation with also helps for multi-purpose for serving as the food to the birds and also improvement of the crop benefiting to the farmers. This is common in our houses as bird lovers. Have you seen the loving birds? Huh? Being reared everywhere. Very small loving birds. They live together till their death, right from birth. When the people, both couples are employed, there is no time for them to take care thereof of children, to educate in all aspects. As he ages, that means maturity comes, you will also think how best he is living with his partner. A kind of education they are going to teach to your children also. You have a partner in future. The indirect lesson being taught to the children without the parents. Then planting native vegetation which is suitable for the birds. That is shelter shade attract many species of migratory resident birds and provide year-round nature appreciation opportunities. And plantings improves bird habitat, conserve the bird habitat so that most of the birds will come and feed on this one. Then strip cropping and grassy borders. So just go through this one, alternating strips of forest, small grain with strips of row crop in large field provides numerous field edges to the bird habitat. Grassy borders, meadows provide prime bird habitat if these areas are kept free of chemical inputs, where nowadays chemical or synthetic inputs are the most dangerous for the extinction of the birds. Not only to the extinction of the birds, but even to the human beings or animals. So chemicals made to bring multinational hospitals to the major cities. Lifespan of the human beings also going to be decreased. Earlier lifespan, what is? What is the earlier lifespan of the human beings? Mostly 60 to 80, 100 years. Now what is the lifespan, active lifespan? Maybe 40? More than 40? It is a bonus life. Is it not? Huh? And after all, after that 40 years, you will be a sick unit. Need some help. Hmm? Because man-made crisis of introduction of insecticides, pesticides into the nature. Conservation of tillage like this by providing some straw, so helps for the bird ecosystem to leave or hide or to lay the eggs or to safeguard their young ones. Also helps to avoid erosion of the soil. Cover crops. Cover crops particularly important to birds since they provide food supplies for overwintering and migrant birds. Organic farming is a word slogan everywhere. Huh? Nowadays is the need of the day. Hmm? So bird diversity and species richness are much higher in organic farm than on your conventional insecticide sprayed plants. No pesticides and generally a greater percentage of non-crop habitats helps to make organic farms more attractive to the farms. Birds. Pestiferous birds. Pestiferous means they are feeding on our crops and also insects. Different types of damages you are aware about. They may feed on grains. They may physically damage. uh, they feed on flowers, trunk damage, etc. So many things are being. So timber damaging, fruit damaging, all these direct and indirect damages are going to be happen in birds. This is called boya weaver bird. Beautiful bird. It is damaging to the sprout pulling by the rice and pearl millet get damaged by this Passer domesticus, which is quite common. Often after the introduction of mobile, people are telling that vanished. That is not a reason why this Passer domesticus being vanished. It is because of our synthetic chemicals, DDT and other things. So calcareous shell thickness has come down because of feeding the grains. So this you are aware about crows feeding on seeds sown by groundnut, maize, sunflower, wheat, peas, some fruits, and this parakeets, Psittacula cramari, very beautiful bird, is a pure vegetarian bird. So three types of parakeets. People are also earning something from this nearby roads. Telling your future. Whenever you get some failed or to complete your degree program of 2 years MSc or 3 years PhD program, you will ask when my degree will be completed. It may pick some leave and give it such that your PhD program will be completed in 1 year. Then you will go happily. Rather than paying 10 rupees, you will pay 100 rupees. That one. This way, earning business is also taken. This is also being eaten. Parakeets. Psittacula cramari is the one that is called rose-ringed parakeet. Large Indian parakeet. This is bigger. Isn't it? So this is called Psittacula eupatoria and blossom-headed blossom-headed parakeet. It is called Psittacula cynocephala. It's like different parakeets which are very beautiful and living in together. And Mysore in Karnataka, there is a very big parakeet station. And in European countries, they are charging more for feeding parakeets also. And they lie upon your hand. N number of birds going to be get attracted. They are trained in such a way in European countries. And earning has a tourism earning in Singapore, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia. Especially this is more in Thailand areas. Parakeet, pigeon, not parakeet. This is pigeon feeding pure vegetarian bird, and this is called myna, as I already explained about feeding both on grains and also insects. So damage caused by birds on maize and other crops, pearl millet or bajra. Like this, they will cause damage. Then why bird management is needed? Do you need the bird management? Not necessarily. Ignore the loss caused by them, quantify their remuneration, or services rendered to the nature. But still people want to manage it. Some kinds of management you are aware, but controlling is difficult. As per Wildlife Act, we are not supposed to kill the birds. Evital is one such. We can make them to kill using Evital medicine. And also baiting with carbaperan. That is also another way. So this is a storage where the birds are going to damage, bird control. For that, wire meshes they are going to adopt. Even in houses also, protective netting. Then using some crackers, which is quite common. But continuous usage of crackers results in aquantic adaptation to overcome this one. Shooting birds, air gun. This also used for shooting the monkeys also. Or wildlife like pigs. Then trapping, bird trapping. Another methods, man operated traps by spreading and producing musical sounds. Just go through these automatic traps, water trap, house trap, then scraping techniques, cross scare, drumming. Drumming means beating, scaring, loud speaking, then platform. So where the birds will come, then you can trap them. Then hanging dead bird or crow is also common to frighten the birds. Then shouting and using gulal. Gulal means caterpillar. You might have heard about the Gulal incidents where Salim Ali used, who is called as the father of ornithology. Who is the mother then? No mother for ornithology or any other sciences. Why he was called as the father of ornithology means at the young age he lost his parents, has become orphan, no education, living in the coast guard, where timber is being exported from Britishers to their country. He was very perfect in shooting with gulal. For every shot, he is going to kill one bird. Without missing. He is the need of the Britishers' culture. Then they appreciated him and encouraged him. That is why he became famous. He traveled across the globe and identified birds and saying the bird name just by seeing the shadow on the earth, and printed voluminous books on birds without getting single rupee from government or Maharajas. Mysore Maharajas offered thousands of rupees for his travel, but he didn't take, sacrifice his life. And such photographs are paintings during that time is uncompatible to even to the digital era. Such a beautiful beak modification, leg modification, color of the birds. Voluminous books are kept in the libraries. Hawk kite, then balloons are also being used, fireworks, then using CDs, automatic cross sprayer. These are all something man operated is once again it is repeated. Then this method some local people are using for catching the bird for day-to-day life for food purpose. So one rope being tied there and some food being kept there, some grains. Whenever the bird goes there, you will pull the rope. The bird will be catch hold. Same technology being used for catching the monkeys also. Man-operated traps. These are all. So this is also common to keep trapping automatic traps where baits can also be used and birds tend to move forward to the light and collect without difficulty. It's a easy method. Wire meshes are being used. Just scroll on. Use the cursor down this cursor. Okay, bird scaring techniques. Effigies of this one can be used. Cloths worn. Then drumming, which you are aware. Then platform. So where hanging up one person standing there. So which is common in forest areas to watch the birds. So hanging dead or crow, anything will frighten the birds. This is called gulal. This culture has already gone after guns. So guns are evolved from gulals only. Evolution. This is called gulal used to throw stones. Then hawk kite. Birds are naturally afraid of predators such as birds of prey. Hawk kites are designed to fly from poles in the areas. You see how they are moving. Frightening by balloons. Get afraid. Crackers. Firecrackers. Using. They get afraid and move away from the fields. Then tying CDs all across the field is also another technique. Reflecting and similarly this technique also used in the same way by ribbons also. This is a local method where you can hang stones to one of the bottle. This is one stone, this is another stone. So when wind comes, the stones will move and hit to the glass bottle, a sound being created, and again when the stone comes and hit, oscillating like pendulum. So with this shot. Now people what they are doing? So when you appoint one person for watching the birds, they don't watch the birds. They sit and will tie some row all around the crop with some balloons or with some stones in a tin and sitting at one side. Often when he gets uneasiness, he will pull the rope. It will create sound all around the plot. Again, one more stroke by pulling the rope. So like this, he repeatedly controls the birds. So chemical control, not worth. So tapes, reflecting tapes makes the birds to move away. Distress and predator calls. Shout on, so makes the birds to get move away, rid away. Repellents can also be used. Some garlic oils, mint oils, and other things. Okay. So these repellents might provide some relief for small orchards and backyard trees and vines, although their overall efficacy is uncertain. So changes in land use pattern and shift from food grains to other crops are resulting in the increased damage of crops by birds as a result of food shortage. Management of these birds is hardly necessary as farmers switching to organic agriculture and as pesticides use is curbed by public attitudes, environmental regulations, and consumer trends, insectivorous birds will have growing significance as providers of natural control. Components of integrated pest management and indicators of healthy environment is necessary. So with this, I will thank you.